Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in our last video, we wrote our very first Python script. Today we're going to dive deeper into some of the most fundamental concepts of programming, which are variable and data types. These two concepts will be your best friends as you continue to learn Python, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'll go ahead and erase everything in my hello world.py. Think of a variable as a container or a box where you can store information. For example, you want to store a person's name. So for example, you might want to store a person's name, age, or even the result of a calculation, and variables make this possible. So I'm going to set a name is equal to row, like so, and I'll do age is equal to something like 200. So in this code, we're storing the string row inside of a variable called name, and the number 200 inside a variable called age. When you create a variable, you give it a name. So in this case, we named name to be name, and then we also named our int to be age. And then we also named 200 to be age. And then we use the equal sign in Python to assign it a value. And Python will remember these values for you by using that equal sign. So now let's talk about data types. In Python, there are different types of data that you can store in variables. The most common ones you'll work with are strings for text, integers for whole numbers, float for decimals, and booleans for true or false. So let me go ahead and create some example for you. So string, I'll do something like name is equal to Alice, integer, which are whole numbers, and age is equal to 25. And then I'll create a float, which is a decimal number. And an example of this is going to be height is equal to, let's do 5.9, and a boolean, which is a true or false. And an example of this is student is equal to true. So you'll notice I put these comments below by using the hashtag symbol. And this in Visual Studio, this will probably be printed out in green for you, but this is the part that you can comment for your own notes and it won't actually be printed out by the console. The code will just ignore everything after this hashtag in that line. So now that we know how to create variables and what data types are, let's use them in a program. So I'm simply just going to print all of these. So for example, I'll give you the first one. So we're going to do print name, and then I'll write a comma, and then add the variable name. And if I go ahead and run this, it's simply going to print name Alice. Now what I want you to do is simply try printing the rest of these. So I want you to print age, height, and is student. And let's get back to the video as soon as you finish doing that. All right. So if you were able to do that, then it should look something like this. So simply we're just going to print age, and then I'll add a comma and add age like so. And then we're going to print height, and then I'll add a comma after, and then I'll write is a student, and then I will print out the variable is student. And now when I go ahead and simply just use this function, it's going to print it out as so, exactly how we stated it over here. So Python will display each of these variables along with their values in the terminal. One of the cool things about variables is that you can change their values at any time. So let's update age to see what happens. So after all of this, I'm going to write age is equal to 26. And now I'm going to print updated age. So now when I run this, it's going to print out Alice 2559 true, and then it'll change it to 26, and then it will print out updated age is 26. Notice how even though we run it once, it's going to print age 25 here up until we declare it to be 26 over here. And then after that, it declares updated age to be 26. And that's because we're telling Python to hold a new value of the age to be 26. So now let's try something fun. We can even combine variables and use them in a sentence. So instead of separating all of these, I'm simply just going to do print name, and then I'm going to combine this with is, and then I'll add a plus. And now I'm going to use a function called str, and then I'm going to insert it with age. And this str stands for string, and this is simply just turning that age into a string. It's kind of like adding 25 in quotes, like so. But we're just simply passing in the variable to make it more neat. And then I'll add a plus and write years old. So now when I go ahead and print this out, it's gonna say Alice is 25 years old in just simply one line. So let's go over some data type conversion. Sometimes you'll need to convert between data types like we did with this string age. Python makes it easy to convert between data types. So let me show you a few examples. So I'll erase everything and I'll just show a convert integer to string simply by setting age to 25. And then I can do another variable as age as string, like so, and I can just do strh, kind of like how we just used. And now this is how you convert a string to an integer. So I'll do year is equal to 2023, and the string is actually 2023 because it's in double quotes. So if I wanted to write year as int, then I can simply write int and then insert that variable of year. So now it'll print out 2023 as an integer instead of this string. And in order to convert an integer to a float, I'll just do num is equal to 10, and then num as float will simply be float and then just put the num inside. So it's very easy to switch between data types, and I'll go ahead and show you one more. So now let's convert a float to an integer. And let's set pi to be 3.14, and I can just write pi as int to be int of pi. So when we print out int as pi or pi as int, it's simply going to print out 3 and drop everything in the decimal. So let me go ahead and show you this example. So when I run my code, it's simply going to print 3 instead of 3.14. And that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching Code With Ro. Like, subscribe, comment below what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.